This is an example of the legend of the Radionics or Psionics time camera. This is a publication that came out, as you can see, in 1990. And it says right here, magic in a black box, a mysterious looking device occupied the center of the big research lab just outside of Oxford, England. George Delaware, head of the huge laboratory, adjustments to some of the dials that cover the apparatus. With a final nod of approval, Dr. Delaware inserted a piece of ordinary photographic film into an opening in the device, and after a few moments removed a picture of his wife and himself on their wedding day 30 years before. So that's the idea, that you can somehow insert an undeveloped piece of film into a Radionics or Psionics box, a wishing machine, and somehow create an image that may be an image from perhaps your mind or the past or the future. So here's how I've been experimenting with this, and I think this is the simplest way to explain it. I got an old-fashioned Polaroid camera. I guess I got this one probably off of eBay. It's in good shape. And the cool thing about a Polaroid camera is that a film pack like this one, color 600 film, it has all the chemicals already inside the cartridge, if that's what you call it. By the way, there's the manual for this one. One-step autofocus and one-step close-up cameras. Here's what you would ordinarily do. And, okay, so this is a fresh pack of film. So you cut that thing open. And when you cut it open, there is a piece of cardboard on the top. And that shields all the undeveloped film from the light. So you slide this forward, pull that down. As soon as you stick it in there, by the way, there's no battery in the camera. There is a battery in this film pack that powers the flash and everything else that happens. So as soon as you put that in there and you close it, it spits out that piece of cardboard. So now what you have in here is a pack of undeveloped film. And ordinarily, what you would do is just take your camera and, you just push that button and take a picture, and your film pops out developed, because when it pops out, it goes through some rollers that releases those chemicals. And so what you end up with is a picture like this one that I took of myself a little earlier. So that's how this is supposed to work for normal people under normal circumstances. However, a lot of people do not realize that once that is in there, if you have this top portion closed, you actually can still remove the film cartridge. And you would ordinarily do this in a dark room, because what I'm doing right now is potentially ruining this entire cartridge of film. I don't even know if cartridge is the right word, frankly. But this is an undeveloped piece of film, and I'm only doing this in light to illustrate for you. By the way, if you do not have a completely dark room, like a closet or a bathroom with no windows, there are also these things called loading bags that you can use. They're pretty cheap. You can get off of eBay, and you just slide your hands into either side, and then on the back, you can put your camera and your film in, and you can do everything in the dark that way. So that's an option for you. So ordinarily, what you would do is take this thing out in the dark, and what you would have here is an undeveloped piece of film. Now, at that point, you can do some fun stuff. For example, I took a necklace that I had. This is an amethyst necklace in a dark room, and I put it right here. And then I got one of these flash packs also off of Amazon, and it wasn't much. I can't remember how much it was. It was probably no more than $20 or $30. And basically, in the dark room, you take it and you give it a flash. These are the type of film I'm using is very sensitive, so you should probably have it at least 5 or 6 feet away if you can. But basically, what you do is you go pow. And then, once you've exposed it, you simply put this piece of, you put this cartridge back into the camera, and you close it, and it's going to spit out a picture. And when I did that in a dark room, it gave me this image. So you can see how what I've actually been able to do here is expose a piece of film to a direct object using a flash pack like that. And to give you another example of how you can do this, I did the exact same thing using a Canadian coin. I'm in America, but I chose a Canadian coin because it has some really nice angles on it. And when I did the same thing, this is what I got. So you see there's the coin that I put on top of the plate in the dark, and then after it developed, you see it created that impression. So I decided to start seeing if there was a way to expose things photographically using radionics, similar to what we were being told was possible in the legend of the time camera. So what I did was take a typical Radionics box. I believe this one is the E-Lux that we have at wishingmachineproject.com. Right now, it's the switch is in the off position, but there's a red light right here, and this also has the option of turning it on, and you might be able to see there's a red light blinking here that shows that it has an electrical component as well. I've used this machine for years, by the way. And so I was interested in whether or not, instead of exposing the film to light, I could expose it radionically. So what I did was take a piece of film. Essentially, I took this canister. This is the same one I just showed you. And I put it on the output plate of the machine. And then I took the coin, the Canadian coin, and I put it on the input plate. And then I went through the usual process of tuning it. I guess, considering the output plate is covered up, I use what I call the intuitive method, which you can find in the FAQs at wishingmachineproject.com. where I would go through and pick the tuning that felt right for me on each one of these knobs. And again, I'm just giving you an example of what I did. I took more time with it. And there are different ways you can do this, of course. And then I actually turned the machine on. And what's funny is that I had a piece of black tape over that red light because I didn't want that red light to interfere with the development. But it turns out this film is so sensitive, it doesn't matter. Some red light still got through. And I left it like that for hours. I think I left it like that for 4 hours. And then I developed the film by simply taking it, and all you have to do is take it in a dark room or a loading bag. Oh, there's already one in there. Well, anyway, you just put it in the camera. Here, I'll tell you what. I'll take this one out. See, you just stick it in there and it develops it for you. Okay. Obviously, this one is a little wonky because I'm winging it, but here's what I got. This is what came out. And so this was done at, let's see, October 29th, 2024, 8:08 a.m. And one thing that I thought was interesting about it was that if you take this Canadian coin, which is what I was trying to send from the input plate to the output plate, you can use your imagination a little bit and you can say, well, that kind of looks like the shape of Canadian coin. Is that pareidoia? Perhaps. But you can kind of see perhaps how that maybe I was making some progress on sending the image of the coin to the output plate where the undeveloped film was sitting, and then developed it and got that. So I said, all right, well, there may be something to this. And that is why I decided next to experiment with the true time camera concept. Now, there's a lot of unknowns regarding what George Delaware did with the time camera. I don't know how he tried to represent a point in time, but I figured, well, here's something that is world famous. I'm from North Carolina. So in Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, USA, the Wright brothers achieved the first acknowledged flight of an airplane at 10:35 a.m. That was December 17th, 1903. I put the GPS coordinates there, and I put that on the input plate. I went through the tuning process. I laid a piece of film down, undeveloped film in a dark room, and I let it sit there for probably 12 hours. Then I took it, put it in the camera, and developed it, and I got nothing. Absolutely nothing. So at this point, I cannot say that I have achieved the time camera effect, but I'm shooting this video to show you how that you can experiment with this rather easily, I think, if you don't want to get all the chemicals and the containers that are necessary to do traditional film developing. So if you have the desire to experiment with this and see if you can figure out how to reproduce the time camera, you don't maybe have to get a dark room with all the chemicals, etc. You might be able to use this Polaroid instant development technique and just start there. Because if there is anything to this, I have faith that maybe one of you will be able to get a really interesting result at some point. So that's where I'm right now. I'm going to continue my research. Thank you for watching, and until next time, may the force be with you.